Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight. This is the Canutillo Independent School District Board meeting. Today is March 24th, 2026, and the time is 6 p.m. Thank you for being here, community, teachers, faculty, community, and students for this board meeting in which we'll be discussing the business of the school district. Thank you for being here tonight. The time is 6 p.m. Adrian, would you bring us?
Item 1B, Pledge of Allegiance.
Is didn't have to do call of order? Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Item 1D, Mrs. Barnes.
Present.
Mrs. Borrego.
Present.
Ms. Maldonado.
Present.
Mr. Martinez.
Present.
Mrs. Ortega.
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez. Mrs. Zúñiga.
Here.
Moises Aguirre.
Present.
Mason Cosette.
Present.
Item 1B, Pledge of Allegiance.
I would like to invite the Canutillo Alumni Foundation to stand up and lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Item 1E, CISD Vision and Mission Statements.
Ms. Zúñiga, would you lead us on the vision statement? And Ms. Padilla, Ms. Maldonado, and the mission, please, statement.
Mission. We provide equitable opportunities to ensure our future-ready students are empowered to explore, learn, grow, and excel.
Vision. Lead today, impact tomorrow.
Thank you, ladies.
Item number 2, Board Honors. Item 2A, recognition of the founding members of the Canutillo Alumni Foundation for Education, CAFE, which has given hundreds of thousands of dollars in scholarships to CISD seniors. Presenter, Gustavo Reveles.
I'm going to do all of them. I'm going to go ahead and do all of them, okay? Good evening, Mr. Martinez, members of the board, and Dr. Borrego. It's an honor to be here tonight to recognize the amazing work being done to improve the lives of the children of Canutillo. Please join us in front of the dais as we begin this month's program. Canutillo ISD continues to invest in its all-important fine arts program, and that attention to detail is paying dividends. Proof positive is the selection of Canutillo High School sophomore Evelyn Blair to participate in the prestigious Texas Music Educators Association 5A Symphonic All-State Performance Band, one of the highest honors for a student musician in Texas. Evelyn, who plays the flute, spent 2 days in San Antonio rehearsing with top music students from across the state and performing live in front of teachers, recruiters, and professional musicians. This is a clear indication that Evelyn's talent, dedication, and hard work, coupled with the commitment and care of our outstanding music teachers, are paying off. Please help me welcome Canutillo High School All-State flutist, Evelyn Blair. All right, let's do a photo, Evelyn, and we're going to invite Mr. Rodriguez, our fine arts coordinator, and Mom. Hold on. Mom's coming. Can we do 2 rows? We'll take it over here. Yeah. Oh, Miss Avila? Oh, no, we have Miss Avila. This right here. Here are a few more impressive facts about Evelyn. She is the top-ranked 5A flutist in El Paso and among the top 5 in Texas, and she is just a sophomore. As she continues to grow and refine her skills, we know her accomplishments will reach even greater heights and bring further recognition to herself, Canutillo High School, and Canutillo ISD. Thank you. We have more great news from Canutillo High School. Earlier this spring, several students in the school's outstanding DECA program, a CTE-based organization that prepares students for careers in marketing, finance, hospitality, and management, competed at the state tournament after excelling at the area level. One of those students, Aiden Aguirre, emerged as one of the few state champions from the region. As a state champion, Aiden outperformed nearly 8,000 students from across the state and qualified for the upcoming International Career Development Conference in Atlanta, where he will compete against students from across the United States and around the world. Please help me welcome Texas DECA State Champion from Canutillo High School, Aiden Aguirre. We have his parents, Ms. Avila, and Ms. Coggins, his teacher, to please come up. All right, Laura Kaka.
I just want to hear it.
1, 2, 3.
Come on. Just a quick note about Aiden. He's a graduating senior who has excelled both academically and extracurricular activities during his 4 years as an Eagle. He's a senior class officer, a member of the National Honor Society, and a former student athlete. Last year, he was selected for the prestigious University of Texas at Austin McCombs School of Business Dynamic Program, and he's also sometimes served as our official Brutus Eagle mascot. Congratulations, Aiden. Best of luck at Worlds. Lastly, tonight, we celebrate a special group of individuals who, while not officially employed by Canutillo ISD, have made it and continue to make a tremendous impact on the lives of our students. In 2004, a group of Canutillo ISD alumni and friends came together to create the Canutillo Alumni Foundation for Education, or CAFE. The organization's mission was to raise funds to provide scholarships to graduating seniors in the district. These founders established a program that, to date, has awarded more than $300,000 in scholarships to hundreds of graduates from Canutillo High School and Northwest Early College High School. Their legacy has helped students pursue college and post-secondary training, improving the financial outlook of countless families. Simply put, their work has been transformative, and it continues today. As we speak, CAFE is preparing for its annual golf tournament, which raises a significant portion of the funds that will support scholarships for the CISD class of 2026. Tonight, we are proud to honor the founding members of CAFE. Please help us welcome Sergio Coronado. And please stick around, Sergio, for a group photo. Laura Leos. Mickey Laurie. Teddy Martinez. Jesus Martinez. Board President Sergio Martinez. You give it to yourself, Mr. Martinez. Trustee Armando Rodriguez. And Alfredo Vasquez. We'd also like to recognize the current Cafe board members, Jessica Bernal, and Bobby Cimental. All right, let's try a photo, Laura. Yes.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you all for everything.
Si ya saben. Many of these founding members continue to support Cafe each year, helping improve the lives of our students. On behalf of our students and families, thank you for your dedication and commitment. On a personal note, I want to just recognize Alfredo Vasquez, the first PIO in Canutillo's history. As a young reporter, I worked with him closely, and he was by far the best PIO I ever worked with as a reporter. Board President Martinez, members of the board, and Dr. Borrego, this concludes this month's board honors. Good night.
I'd like to take a moment of your time and also to recognize a great member of Cafe, and that was Charlie Hart. Charlie Hart, go ahead, Alfredo, clap. Charlie Hart had a great vision. He was always pushing us to do better. And I remember meeting over Cafe with him, and he said, Sergio, we need to do something. Our kids are leaving and they don't have any scholarships. And I know that some of you guys get involved, like Sergio Coronado, get involved with EPISD and some of these golf tournaments that raises funds for EPISD. Why don't you do it in Canutillo? And he said, you got to do it this month. A month went by and we didn't do it. So the following month at the high school, at the library, we all got together, and I think Sergio Coronado had also that same vision, and we said, presented to them, I said, for the first time, we would like to start this golf tournament. It's an alumni foundation golf tournament. And we didn't know what the name was going to be at that time. And Sergio said, yes, it's a good idea. I was thinking the same thing because someone is talking to me. And I said, what a great idea. Let's bring it together. And I like to congratulate all of you that got involved from the beginning. It takes an enormous amount of time, energy, and effort to start something from scratch. And you guys have done an excellent job. Some of you that are still involved, Teddy, Jessica, Sergio, Bobby, Armando, all of you. So I challenge all of you to get involved. Please, get involved. It doesn't take a lot of time. It takes a lot of time when the event is approaching. It takes us a lot of time. And some of you get involved more than others. Jessica, she's involved 100%. Thank you, Jessica, for all the work. Teddy, the same thing, finding things, finding items to donate and give away during the tournament. All of you teachers that fund this great organization, some of you have been donating for quite some time, 10, 15, 20 years. A little bit goes a long way. And I'll tell you, there's no better feeling than when we interview. Some of us that interview those high school students, 80 interviews. And you can hear in their voices how proud they are to come out of Canutillo and where they're going, how excited they are to have grown in this community. It's a great feeling. So I challenge all of you that are part of this community and part of this school district to get involved, please. Thank you very much to all of you, and thank you for being here tonight.
Item number 3, open forum. Any person wishing to address the board during the period reserved for public comment at a board meeting must sign up to be heard in accordance with District Policy BED Local. Each participant will be limited to 3 minutes to make comments to the board. The board is not permitted to discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on the agenda for tonight's meeting. For further information on these policies, contact the superintendent's administrative assistant. And Mr. President, we have 6 community members that signed up for today's meeting. The first one is Ms. Sarah Pugh regarding the restructuring of the DEAP program.
Greetings, Dr. Borrego, Board President Martinez, and board members. My name is Sarah Pugh, and I have been the DAP math teacher for 12 years. I am here today to express my concerns about the recent changes to the Disciplinary Alternative Education Program. I will email a letter expressing these concerns to Dr. Borrego and the board members later tonight, and I will be speaking about my biggest concern now. On Monday, February 23rd, we were informed that DAP would no longer be an off-campus program. Instead, individual campus DAPs would be created. DAP staff would be reassigned to the campus DAPs or other vacancies in the district, and all of these changes would go into effect by the following Monday. We would find out our new positions at a later date. This sudden change raised many questions and caused confusion, anxiety, and fear in students and staff. Many of us in the program have devoted our careers to helping at-risk students, and this was a deep blow. The main question was, why couldn't this wait until the end of the year? Why is it being so rushed with no solid plan in place? The primary reason given for the sudden move was the great inflation from DAP teachers. Students were entering our program with 50s or lower, and then leaving the program with A's and B's. The reason student grades improved significantly was that students could not exit the program if they were failing their core classes. DAP students received daily, direct instruction in their core subjects. If the students refused to do work or refused to attend class, a day was added onto their stay. If the student tried to sleep in class or refused to participate, they could get more days added on. Their main goal was to exit DAP, so this was an excellent incentive to do their work. Class sizes were on average between 1 and 10 students, with the average being around 4 in a class. Research indicates that grades improve in a highly structured, small class size environment like DAP. The students also had access to teachers all day long, and I frequently pulled students who asked for extra help during my prep. Behavioral issues do not mean a student can't succeed academically, they just need more support. Campus teachers have told me that upon returning, they would try for a few days and then fall back into old patterns. My concern with the new plan is that students will not be receiving direct instruction. Campus teachers will now be required to send work and will be rotating in to help the DAP students. This is adding another burden to campus teachers who already have so many other responsibilities, and I have heard many complaints from campus teachers. There are other concerns in my letter that I do not have time to go into detail here, so I ask that you review it at a later time. In closing, I am requesting a formal board review of the actions taken by Dr. Rico and the reasoning behind them. What will be the long-term consequences of dismantling such a successful program? Were the parents and campus teachers consulted before implementation of this plan? How will these actions impact current and future students placed in DAP? And how will we ensure the safety of our students and teachers? Thank you.
Next participant will be Ms. Nidia Avila regarding the Blue Bonnet curriculums.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, and Dr. Borrego. My name is Nidia Avila, Interim Principal at Canutillo High School, Principal of Alderete Middle School. I'm here representing the voices of both Canutillo High School and AMS math teachers, and also speaking as a former math teacher myself. As part of our instructional review process, middle school and high school math teachers who serve a wide range of learners were given the opportunity to preview Blue Bonnet materials and share their feedback. Overall, the response was positive across all grade levels. Teachers appreciated the opportunity to preview materials and provide input. They found materials to be flexible and supportive of diverse student learning needs. They also valued being able to maintain their instructional autonomy while still following a TICS-aligned scope and sequence. Additionally, the scope and sequence is recognized by the teachers as being aligned not only to TICS, but also to the state assessment timelines, helping ensure a strong and coherent progression of instruction. Overall, their feedback reflects a positive first impression, particularly in terms of flexibility, alignment, and support of wide range learners like our Canutillo students. Thank you.
Next participant will be Ms. Gabriela Hajir regarding the Blue Bonnet adoption.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, and Dr. Borrego. My name is Gabriela Hajir, Assistant Principal at Jose Damian. Ms. Castillo, Principal at Jose Damian, was unable to attend as she is at a TXRL conference at this time. However, she has asked me to read the statement regarding Blue Bonnet curriculum. But she and I share a single non-negotiable goal: ensuring every student in our campus and district has the tools to master mathematics. But mastery isn't a happy accident. It is a result of intentional, rigorous, and proven instruction. That is why I am urging the board to adopt the Blue Bonnet Learning Math Curriculum. Blue Bonnet has been vetted throughout the State Board of Education, inaugural instructional materials review and approval. This isn't just a stamp of approval, it's a guarantee to be on the list. Blue Bonnet had to prove it meets the highest bars of quality, suitability, and most importantly, 100% aligned to TICS. Choosing Blue Bonnet means choosing a system built on evidence. Here is what the curriculum brings to our classrooms: evidence-based practice, equity by design, and data-driven growth. Blue Bonnet is aligned with the latest research on how students actually learn math, moving them from basic procedural fluency to deep conceptual understanding. This curriculum is built to support all of our students, providing specific pathways for students with disabilities, English learners, and gifted and talented students. With aligned assignments, our teachers will have the tools for frequent progress monitoring at their fingertips. We currently have STEM Scopes Math in our district. Yes, it is a great program. STEM Scopes allows students to explore and engage as math concepts required for mastery. However, our teachers have shared many frustrations that is simply not enough at the STEM Scopes sequence is not aligned to what we need. We would love to keep STEM Scope supplemental resource as a supplemental resource. As administrators, it is our job to listen to our teachers and listen to their needs, as they are the ones in the battlefield. They simply need more resources. To add to an already great program, by adopting Bluebonnet, we are choosing to add a resource that has been rigorously tested against the state's more stringent rubrics that ensures every student in the classroom receives the same quality of education.
Thank you, Ms. Hajir. Next participant will be Ms. Janet Plaza regarding also the Bluebonnet curriculums.
Good evening, President Martinez, board members, and Dr. Borrego. My name is Janet Plaza. I'm the elementary principal at Garcia Elementary. I'm here today to give you a few thoughts about Bluebonnet and the math curriculum for the upcoming school year. At this time, we use STEM Scopes Math at the elementary level. The online platform provides a great resource and built the 5E and the intervention and the acceleration component. A lot of hands-on, going away from the rote memorization. However, we have listened to teachers with their frustration about STEM Scopes being the only high-quality material that they are using in this at the classrooms at this time. So, as part of the ongoing commitment to strengthening instruction and supporting our teachers, our district is looking into incorporating. We're looking into the Bluebonnet and also the TEACS resource, right? And so we are looking into that by. I think it will provide the teachers access to a wider range of tools, strategies, and materials to meet the diverse needs of the students. At the same time, we hope to continue to use STEM Scopes Math as a supplemental resource, ensuring that we maintain continuity while expanding instructional support. Bluebonnet offers several key strengths that will benefit both teachers and students. First, it is strongly aligned to the TEACS, ensuring that instruction remains focused on the standards and our students are expected to master. Second, it provides a built-in support for teachers through ready-use lessons and instructional strategies, helping reduce planning time while maintaining flexibility. Third, it supports vertical alignment. It strengthens vertical alignment across all grade levels and can be more intentionally built on prior knowledge from year to year, helping students develop a deeper and more connected understanding of math concepts. This will help ensure consistency across classrooms and campuses while giving teachers a strong roadmap of what to teach and when. With this structure in place, teachers can be more effective in planning instruction, monitoring student progress, and making adjustments based on student needs. Ultimately, this shift is about empowering our teachers and improving outcomes for our students. With stronger alignment, a clear instructional roadmap, and more robust resources, we are setting both our educators and our learners up for success. Thank you for your time and continued your dedication to our students.
Next participant is going to be Ms. Virginia Bernal regarding thank you to the board members and Dr. Borrego.
Good evening, Board President Martinez, board members, and Dr. Borrego. I wanted to take this opportunity to express my gratitude for being able to continue to grow and serve in the Canutillo community as the principal of Reyes Elementary. I would also like to invite you to stop by our campus and see the amazing collaboration that takes place between our students and staff on a daily basis. Our doors are always open, and again, thank you.
Our last participant for the night will be Ms. Alma Ramos regarding also a thank you to the board and the superintendent for their appointment as principal.
Good evening, Board President Martinez, members of the board, and Dr. Borrego. I'm here to thank you sincerely for the opportunity to serve as principal of Canutillo Elementary. I'm truly honored and deeply grateful for your trust. I come into this role with a humble heart, ready to serve our students, our staff, and our families. I am committed to being an instructional leader who supports teachers, strengthens learning in every classroom, and helps every child reach their full potential. I appreciate you taking a chance on me, and I promise to give my very best. Thank you again for your confidence and for allowing me the privilege to serve this wonderful community. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
And Mr. Board President, that concludes open forum for today. Next item will be item number 4, Board of Trustees business. Item 4A, discussion and possible action on the adoption of the STEM Scopes Math Instructional Materials, grades K through Algebra 1. Presenter, Dr. Jessica Arellano and Dr. Josue Borrego.
Good evening. If it's okay, we'd like to combine A and B in this presentation, if that's okay.
Item 4B, discussion and possible action on adoption of the Blue Bonnet Learning Mathematics curriculum for grades Kinder through Algebra 1. Presenters, Dr. Jessica Arellano and Dr. Josue Borrego.
Good evening, Dr. Borrego.
I'm sorry, before you start, I just want a clarification. We're going to do it backwards? We're going to do Blue Bonnet first, then the STEM scopes?
We have one presentation, so then I guess you would vote on A and B. We just wanted to share that we have one presentation for both.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I just wasn't sure. I was a little confused.
Sorry, didn't mean to confuse you. We just wanted to give just one presentation instead of two.
Thank you.
But good evening, Dr. Borrego, Board President Martinez, and Board of Trustees. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you tonight concerning our math curriculum. I'd like to introduce ourselves, which you know us, but also Lillian from Region 19, Lillian Frazier. She's also here to help us tonight. So what brings us to the table is beginning in the fall, teachers began to raise concerns regarding our mathematics curriculum. And because of the questions that they raised, we began to start seeking out other curriculum. And when Dr. Borrego started in January, principals and teachers also expressed the same concerns to him. So a team of us went to the IMRA presentation or showcase, which was about a month ago, and we began to explore other curriculum. And so as we did that, we began to determine that perhaps Bluebonnet and STEM Scopes could be two options for our district at this time. So tonight, we're going to provide an overview of our materials and review both STEM Scopes and Bluebonnet, highlight instructional impact and funding, but at the end of the day, of course, we support our board's decision. Okay, as you know, if we want to switch, currently, as a district, we are facing issues with our letter grade. We are now at a 78. We were at an 80 before, and we went down to 78. So we're seeking ways to increase student achievement overall. Next slide. Historically, in math, we saw some gains back in 2020, 2021, but over time, we started to see a decline. This is not just a Canutillo problem. The issue with mathematics is also a state problem, and I will share with you in a moment some research from Texas 2036, and it's the reason why the district or the state of Texas is going toward math academies to really support mathematics across the state. And it's also a national problem. Students across the nation struggle with math because math is challenging for students. So it's something that as a district we are really working to address, and that is why we really want to focus our attention on ensuring that we provide the best options and curriculum for our students. Okay. In high school math, I think they have that up right now. In high school math, we have seen some gains and some losses, but we want to make sure we are pointing to the trajectory upward. And Dr. Arellano is going to share concerning our current interim results.
So as we presented last month, CNI presented our math and literacy. This is just an overview of the same thing. As you can see in our Algebra 1, we did see a change in our Algebra 1 across all levels, approaches through masters. In our middle school interim, STAR 3 through 8, we did, in middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th, we did see some gains in our meets and masters, which is where we want to see the majority of the gains, but there is some red there as well. So again, we went through this last month. This is just to recapture that data. And in elementary math, overall, third, fourth, and fifth, there was a slight gain in our third math masters and our fourth grade masters, 16%. But then there were, of course, some drops. And again, this is in the interim, the prediction for the STAR upcoming next month. So since then, we have put a plan in place. Our intercession was a success. We did have quite a few students come, and we worked with them this last week, or 2 weeks ago, rather. And then again, in Spanish, some fifth grade Spanish, some gains in the meets and masters, but overall, there is a reduction across all other performance levels. And so, like Dr. Kearney said, we know math is something we need to address, and thus the conversation between the Bluebonnet and STEM scopes, because we are hearing our principals and teachers, and we want to make sure that their voices are heard, and so that's why we're here with you all today.
And so I just want to add that concerning our interim results, teachers raised concerns regarding whether it could be a scope and sequence issue, what are the challenges that caused some of them to get the scores that they did. So we've had discussions with them, with principals, concerning, should we look at other options? And the answer was yes. And also looking at what we're doing instructionally. So we've been working with our principals and looking at, how are we planning? How are teachers planning? We've been working with them on the lesson internalization process, which we're going to be rolling out as a district. We're also rolling out the gradual release model across district-wide. We just want to do multiple things to improve instruction. So we're not just looking at curriculum, we're also looking at the first teach, we're looking at interventions, all of the things, just to make sure that we are able to close the gaps. But at this time, we think that it would benefit us as a district to have both of these, okay? And the reason is we believe that having both would help us to improve student achievement by helping us to close the gaps, really strengthen middle school math. That is historically, especially for the past few years, been one of our lowest areas, middle school math. And again, that's a state problem. There's more data concerning really 8th grade and the other grade levels as well that are showing steady declines at middle school. So that's a real challenge. We want to really expand our district repertoire in math and really focus on ensuring instructional inconsistencies and consistencies across the district. So if you want to go to the next slide. So here you see a comparison, but really we don't want you to look at it as one has this and one doesn't have the other. We really want you to see this chart as both curriculum having strengths. So it doesn't have to be either or, it can be both and. They're both 100% approved HQIM. With STEM scopes, the strength is that teachers are already familiar with it. We have established systems. We have current implementation. It has its own scope and sequence, which we've had questions about, but that's one of the attributes of that. With Bluebonnet, we know that TEA has vetted it. It's 100% aligned as well. They do have a strong rollout plan. We have support through Region 19, which is phenomenal, and it follows TEACS-RS, which our district has used TEACS-RS for many years. And Dr. Ariano is going to share the survey data.
So we did offer three opportunities for our teachers, for our administration, for our DAC members to come and view both, and some of our board members, right, to come view the curriculum. So we had 2 days in intercession where we had quite a few teachers come out. And then yesterday was, when they returned, we also offered a full day of review. We had approximately 70 people come by, talk. Thank you to Region 19, who was there all 3 days. our curriculum coordinators answering questions about both products and really letting teachers review them and ask those important questions. I did provide the results. It's pretty close, really. 47% in favor of STEM scopes, 37% of Bluebonnet, but 15% don't really have a preference. And so I really think it's a 50-50 kind of split. It's not really heavy on one or the other. On the next slide, we did ask them if they would support the district with either resource for math. And again, as you can see, we have 31% saying yes, and then close to 43% maybe, and then 25%. And that was about 10 people who said no. As you look at the cost analysis for each, the state does provide, because both are high quality instructional materials, they both provide $40 per student for the purchase of either one. There are STEM scopes kits that are $220,000. Those, we do have a purchase order ready to go for using Title IV federal funds, because it is considered an enhancement to the math program. And then Bluebonnet is right around the same price, $221,000. And so they're both very compatible. And so that's the cost analysis. With Bluebonnet, you do get an additional $20 that you do not get with any other product, high quality instructional material for math. And so another difference is that Bluebonnet offers grant opportunities. You may be familiar with the LASSO 4. LASSO Cycle 5 will open up in October. We'll know more. But through the Texas Strategic Leadership, through Region 19, we will be able to receive support from them for administrator support as well as teacher support as we work through either one, but with Bluebonnet in particular, opens up opportunity for those funds. And so in closing, like Dr. Kearney said, we have a commitment to high quality instruction. So if we could have both HQIMs, that's something that would be ideal for the district. But we do recognize that the work is going to come in the form of the Tier 1 instruction, the teacher providing that quality instruction to our students. We want to improve those outcomes, and we know we're going to be able to do it with the gradual release model. Administration is working really hard on learning objectives, success criteria, our instructional strategies, and our demonstration of learning assessment that we're going to do every day. So it's going to happen. Either way, we've trusted our administration and their experience with Bluebonnet as well. And so we're only familiar with STEM scopes. And so personally, myself, in my opinion, I do trust the administration that has come in, who is very familiar with the other high quality instructional material and the great things that it's done in other districts, but in particular where that has come from. So, we want to grow, we want to make a change, and we want to get that A back. So that's all I have. We'll open it up for any questions.
May I start?
Go ahead, Ms. Borrego.
So I want to apologize ahead of time if I'm very passionate, those of you that know me. I know curriculum and instruction a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. I have a lot of concerns. And it has anything I say has nothing to do with the people, but the practices. I'm a firm believer, and I'm going to start with this. When I go to a doctor, I prefer a DO than an MD, because the DO looks for the root of the problem. And I've shared some of this with the superintendent and where my concerns. And so I'm going to go a little bit to the root, and I'm looking at it as the chief academic officer. for 10 years, and a very successful school district, I feel like, academically. Couple of things. Number one, I'm concerned about the data and principals and assistant principals coming up here and talking about Bluebonnet. There's no evidence for Bluebonnet. There's none. There's no efficacy studies. There's no evidence. It might have been good. Eureka's the math component, right? Scores have not increased in math across the state in Eureka. There's no proof of that. There's no been big math increases in that. I took a whole bunch of notes here. Teachers raise concern, and I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to go back to the root that I talked about, is that, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, Ms. Maldonado was not on the board yet, but I know for a fact somebody else with me, I sat in this meeting and said, are you sure you want to get rid of TEKS resource system? And you were sure, and this was something that we wanted to do. And I was like, okay. I think we lost ourselves when we did that. The roadmap, I think, was lost a little bit. I think you know that Tier 1 instruction is important. I feel like the argument I've gotten here is that we're going to go with Bluebonnet because, our teachers are not at that level, or some teachers aren't at that level, but some are. And as good educators, as good teachers, we don't teach to the bottom of the class. We teach them to get better. We teach to the top of the class. And that is the philosophy that we had in the 2 school districts in this town that are successful, is because we did not succumb to what the state wanted us to do. We succumbed to what was best for kids and teachers. So I'm a little worried about the maybe part of that on the presentation. Maybe they'll support it, maybe they won't. We've had STEM scopes, because you chose it, 1 year. And you know why it wasn't successful? Because there was no training, number one. Or maybe no successful training, no support. There could be a million reasons why. You were interim superintendent, you couldn't lead that. The people that were put in charge of it, there were no systems in place. I saw it, and I just sit here in the dais. I talked about it a lot. I talked a lot about that curriculum piece, a lot, where I don't feel there was follow through. It is unfair to give teachers something. It's like sink or swim. My second language is English, but I try to, the correlations, sayings and stuff. I never understood sink or swim, Mama. What is that? I understand it now. If you throw a kid that doesn't know how to swim into the pool, and you say, well, good luck, more than likely, they're going to sink, right? Because you didn't give them floaties, you didn't give them lessons, you didn't give them a board. I feel that that's the reason that STEM Scopes wasn't successful. I have extensive experience with STEM Scopes. It is a great product. That's why it's HQ. I am. I always say am I. See, it's the lep in me. I am. That's why it's that, number one. Because the state recognizes that. And I'm not going with STEM Scopes because I want you to pick STEM Scopes. I'm going with it because I have experience with it, but because you already picked it and you only gave it to teachers a year ago. And that is such not a good practice to say, okay, we're going to give you this. Oh, okay, we're going to switch it. Anything you do takes 3 to 5 years to show, guys. And I know both of you and your curriculum knowledge in that. So that is a concern for me too. Now, what the audience doesn't know is that, yeah, you get more money for Bluebonnet, but you got to use that money to print the materials. If I'm wrong, somebody say it here. It's like when people are getting married. Yeah, you get more money, but you got to use that money to print the materials, so it's really not more money. Just so you all know that. Then, does Region 19, I'm concerned that Region 19 is pushing this instead of best practices for kids on what fits a district. Do you get a financial incentive? You don't have to answer that. All of you all ask that if you want. I know the answer already, okay? Also, Bluebonnet, because I've called all my friends across the state. I did it for 10 years, right? Lessons don't have small group instruction. They're all whole group. That is not a best practice. We're going backwards, and I get it that we're in a hurry and we want to go from a D to an A again. We got to look at the root. We already saw something. We got to go back to, we talked about this at our last board meeting. Classroom visits. Is tier 1 instruction happening? If it's not, why? And what are we doing about it? We know, we see the news with Bluebonnet, and you're going to tell me all these other things, but bottom line is there was 4,200 corrections that had to be made, and it hasn't been out. There's no data on it. That concerns me too. There's efficacy studies on a lot of other curriculums out there that we know work. We've had 1 year of STEM scopes. I worry. Research shows that scripted curriculum is bad for teachers and it's bad for kids. It may be good for some teachers and for some kids, but not for the majority. Let me tell you what happens with scripted curriculum. Teachers lose the art of teaching. Teachers cannot use the art of teaching. And from what I understand, I didn't know this until a couple days ago, we didn't even have the materials for STEM scopes. So we didn't have the floaties, we didn't have the kickboard, we didn't have the goggles, nothing to make that program work. And that's the one you guys chose, right? So besides the training, we didn't even have the materials. Bluebonnet does not allow for teacher autonomy. And I worry about that as a teacher. You know, I always promised that I would never forget my teacher roots. Bluebonnet is scripted. You talk to people, and I want to know what teachers you talk to, and I want to know, maybe you talk to a few and you have a few samples, but I know how that works too. Because when I wanted the answer I wanted, I knew who to talk to. And when I wanted the other answer, I knew who to talk to. So is this board really getting a fair reading? I don't think so. So those are all my thoughts. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to vote today, not because I want to set up the district for failure, because I think there's not a lot of thought, and we're just looking at, because it might bring us more money. But more money, you have to print the materials. So there goes the money, number one. And yes, you're going to lose some money here and there, but at what cost? Sometimes we have to stand up for what's best for kids. We have to stand up for what's best for kids. And so with that, I think that teachers raise concerns, the ones you talk to, because there was no training. There was no follow through. There were no materials. So of course they don't like swimming. And I'm saying swimming because it could be any curriculum you would have picked. I worked for a very smart man that always used to tell me, Lucy, make a decision and make it the right one. Think about how powerful that is. You've made that decision. And so I worry. I worry because fully scripted curriculum is unhealthy. I'm sorry, for teachers and for kids. It really is. We're already losing the art of teacher because this state that we live in and mandates for us tells us how to do a lot of things. Okay, and then I don't know how STAR Test is going to be now, but it's online. And so with Bluebonnet, kids have no opportunity to be tested the way that they're going to go play the game. So we're going to coach them up, we're going to have practice and everything, and then the game's going to be totally different. And yes, I am very passionate about this. And I have, and no offense to anybody in this room that loves Bluebonnet, great. I do not. And maybe when I see some more data, I'm a data person, but I've seen the data on, and I've seen the data on TRS. I've seen the data on STEM scopes. I've seen what it does. Is it a lot of work? And I used to tell, when I was a principal, I used to tell my teachers this all the time. If it's what's best for kids, it's a lot of work for adults. It is. And so when we get this curriculum that's great for kids, whether it's TRS, STEM scopes, whatever you had chosen, HQIM, whatever was adopted, right? And you picked it, we picked that. And now we're going to change it. we're going to go backwards, and we may go forward, but we're going to go backwards. So be ready if that is the case. And I could go on and on and on. I'm not going to bore you, but I might think of something else as you all talk. But I have concerns. I have some major concerns. And then bringing them both on, we need to get what we already have. So many analogies, baseball analogies. We gotta develop the pitcher that we already have. We gotta develop the batter that we already have. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
No, thank you for that. And I just want to address a couple of things. Ms. Borrego, this is the first year we do use STEM scopes, and we don't know. Our interim is indicating one thing, but until June or May, we won't know, the effects. With TEACS-RS, with the HQIM, following the scope and sequence is what's really important, and that's what you have to do. So you can mix the TRX with the other, but you're going to follow the scope and sequence. So to have both was just, it's like a duplication. So you're paying for one and the other. That was the reason for the STEM scopes. And I do feel that the process was very fair, that we brought the 3 teachers in these last 3 days. The opportunity, we had them from every campus was represented. Strong teachers were here. It was a 50-50 split. So I don't feel there was anything other than fairness with the review and the explanations that were given. We're not favoring one or the other. So that was just some of my feedback to some of those thoughts that you raise concerns to.
Thank you, Ms. Arellano. Can we let Ms. Maldonado go next, and then, sure. Go ahead, Ms. Maldonado.
Good evening. So I'm going to, before I share my thoughts, I have some questions on your report. So when you go back to the Canutillo ISD progress report, Adrian, 2019-2025, the overall, you have, of course, 2019-2022, we were at A district. And then 23 dropped to B, 24 to B, 25. So just, I guess for the knowledge of all who are listening, do you recall what we were using in 2019 and 2022 as a curriculum?
I want to say
I know it.
Envisions math.
Thank you. How about 23 and 24?
We were still using Envisions math.
And 25?
We were using Envisions math with STEM scopes as a supplement.
Okay. So, Envisions math, I've been a 5th grade teacher for 30 years, more or less. So I know the STAR, I know the materials that we have used. Envision math is what we used. During the whole time, we had supplements. We had supplements like STEM scopes. I personally used STEM scopes, and I loved it. It was very rigorous, okay? So, my next question goes, in 2025, besides the math curriculum, what change was it that the district do regarding RIF in middle school?
So we did go from a traditional to from a block schedule to a traditional.
Okay.
So from 90 minutes or 80 minutes to 45 minutes. And then our middle schools both lost maybe
Okay.
6.
I'm trying to prove a point.
6 to
all right, guys?
8 positions.
And then, what else did we do as a RIF, specifically for middle school? We eliminated some programs.
Yes, ma'am.
One of them being mentoring minds at the middle schools, which was an automatic 6th grade thing. Right? We eliminated it. Okay. In my personal opinion, all of that is the result of us dropping to a C. Okay? All of that. That's my personal opinion as a teacher. All right? On your, when you're comparing STEM scopes, well, the the T-chart, I'm going to call it, from STEM scopes and Bluebonnet, side by side. The main complaint that I have heard from teachers is the scope and sequence, the pacing. But that's an easy fix, and I've shared it. That's an easy fix because you create, just like Ms. Marlena Zimmerman creates a scope and sequence for science that will help the teachers, you do the same thing for math. Either Ms. Ruby can do it, it's what we used to do back in the day when I taught. We had a scope and sequence that we followed. You brought together math teachers from elementary, and we created our scope and sequence. Yes, we used TRS as well, right? But those were the aha and the plus things that helped us be an A district, in my opinion. All right? The other question that I have is on your teacher survey data. So more concerned with the ones about adopting either resource for math. So there's 25.7% that are a no. Do you know why the hesitation, why they wouldn't want both? Did they share?
So the question was,
Would you support the district adopting either resource for math? Oh, either
either,
resource.
not both.
Not both, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so 25% was no. Is that saying
10 teachers said no. So
no,
that,
because I don't like STEM scopes and I don't like Bluebonnet, right?
no,
Basically.
so it could be that, or it could be, I want STEM scopes. If you go with Bluebonnet, it's a no,
Okay.
or I want Bluebonnet. If you go with STEM scopes, I'm not gonna support. So
Okay.
could be either.
All right, so now I think I've made my point regarding why I feel that we have dropped.
Okay.
Right? And I will agree with you, it's a state thing. But if you look at the data, in some areas, Canutillo ISD is outperforming the state in certain areas from the reports that you have given us. Not by much, maybe 1%, right? Because I look and I compare. So we're not that bad off, I don't think, all right? I'm a firm believer of STEM scopes. I've used STEM scopes. I've used Eureka, and I will share. But I've done my research as well. So when you go to the quality review summary that TEA has on these both, all right, so both of them are 100% TEKS coverage. Both of them are English language proficiency, ELPS, 100%. But the quality review overall score for Bluebonnet was 223 out of 227. And where they fell short was the intentional instructional design. And I will come back to that based on my own experience of using Eureka. STEM scopes, 100% TEKS aligned, 100% ALPS aligned, quality review overall score, 227 out of 227. So for the 5 rubric sections, intentional instructional design, there were 50 points that they could get, 53, they got 53. For progress monitoring, 28 out of 28. For supporting all learners, 32 out of 32. For depth and coherence of key concepts, 23 out of 23. For balance of conceptual and procedural understanding, 66 out of 66. For productive struggles, 25 out of 25. So you see a little difference. Now I'll go back to Eureka. I used it. Like Ms. Borrego said, it is scripted. That's not reality. Teacher says this, student says that. It's in the moment. You're teaching, and you're questioning, and you're doing. And it's in the moment when Dr. Reyes responds a certain way, opens up a door for a good teacher to say, got it. Now let's take it further. Don't got it. All right, let's go back. Let's see what we're missing. It's in the moment. It's not a scripted. And I want to know, because I agree, there is no data for Bluebonnet. It's 1 year that it's been implemented. What is the effectiveness of it? There isn't. There isn't, and that's a major reservation for me. Whereas you do have some data for STEM scopes, right? Now, does anybody know Eureka's data? Because Eureka has been around a little longer than Bluebonnet. But Bluebonnet is Eureka. So does anyone know what the effectiveness, the data of Eureka is?
The state, if it hasn't shown improvement in math. If you look
Okay.
at the state, it hasn't shown improvement overall. If somebody has something, that's the data I looked at, and when I spoke to people, they all quoted that.
And that's where I'm going. Because like I said, I've used Eureka at another district. I didn't see improvement. There is no, and I call it rigor. Because if you look at STEM scopes, the 5E model, it allows for fluency fact. Eureka, or Bluebonnet, I'm assuming, does also. You have a fluency. With Eureka, you had 3 books. You had the fluency, you had the practice, and you had the succeed that the kids worked out of. Fact fluency is if it was multiplication, fact fluency, you got 3 minutes, time them. STEM scopes has the same. The practice was where you taught and they practiced, right? And then the succeed was additional homework. My concern was that it was not star-based questions. They were not, all right? STEM scopes has more of that star base, in my opinion, as a teacher. STEM scopes has your explore, where you're exploring, more opportunity for hands-on, right? You have small group intervention. You're right. I used Eureka. It does not allow for small group intervention. I used to pull them during my win, and I used to pull other resources that I could because Eureka didn't have that. STEM Scopes does, all right? And then daily numeracy, where they have to know facts and things like that, right? So if I had to choose as a teacher, I would choose STEM Scopes. One, as a teacher, I would get so upset and frustrated when the district wanted to change something after we only tried it for 1 year or 2 years. You have to give it time. You have to give it time to show if it's working or not. I do see some improvements with STEM Scopes, I do. And based on teachers that I've spoken to, I see it too. But bottom line, we can't compromise student scores over some of the perks that Bluebonnet is giving us. We can't. Now, and are they really perks? And the other thing is it's rumored that Bluebonnet is going to be formatting STAR in the future, right? So based on what I've seen and what I've used through Eureka, that STAR test, if it is true, it's going to be very frustrating because the teaching just doesn't lend itself. That does not. Now, as a teacher, you should already know and bring, I can bring in this, right? I can bring in this as a good teacher or an experienced teacher, not necessarily a good, an experienced teacher. First year teacher might be stuck, right? So that's where you have to have the support. But I did have one of the questions when you said about a benefit to have both curriculums. How will that work? Is it going to be where you have Bluebonnet and you have STEM Scopes as a supplement? So teachers are going to be expected to follow the Bluebonnet and supplement with STEM Scopes? How will that work?
So that was the thought, is having one as the base, Bluebonnet, and then STEM Scopes as the supplemental, and then TEACS-RS also as part of our intervention. There's also options with ZERN or other supplemental programs for that piece of Bluebonnet and that intervention piece, the adaptive learning. STEM Scopes doesn't have adaptive learning either, so that's something that we would need to do for
Now, STEM Scopes
either
has
one.
for their interventions and accelerated.
They do have for their
and for the
interventions
accelerated,
enrichment.
which is like your
Yeah,
GT, your higher level.
And that would be STEM Scopes, that would be the focus, is the enrichment piece.
My only concern is I would love it that the teachers actually have an option to be able to use one or the other. Like I said, I don't feel that we've given it enough time. STEM Scopes, this is the first year. Some teachers used to use it. I used to use it, but only because our principal purchased for this grade level. And it's not because it's me, but you know what? We did damn well. We were a rock team because our scores were always high. Always high. All right? Could have been the PLCs that we had. And a lot of the things that you are talking about bringing back, I'm like, what the heck? I've only been out, 3 years? These are things that we used to use back in my day. So it was dropped. Somewhere along the line, it got dropped. The strong PLCs, the communications, the creating curriculum. We used to be able to, through Eduforia Bank, we used to pull the questions to create the interim that we were going to be using because based on what we had seen in the past. Do you know what I'm saying?
Miss Lily, just so you know, if I'm not mistaken, STEM Scope streamlines the TEKs. So they have them already. You don't have to go reinvent the wheel.
Ms.
No,
Borrego,
so they
let's
do
allow
in the
somebody
letter.
else to
Okay.
be part
So
of this conversation, please.
if the main concern, in my opinion, for teachers with STEM scopes is the pacing, that's an easy fix, guys. You have the people that can create that scope and sequence. And if you don't have them here, I know that if you go out to the campuses, you are going to have people who have the experience of writing curriculum like we used to in the past. You're veteran teachers who will do it all over again.
Right. And so you're absolutely right. It is a 165-day scope and sequence that's there. This is the first year they use it. And so, that would be something we would do and are planning on doing is getting their feedback as to, okay, this piece of the curriculum, we can narrow it down to 150 days by doing X, Y, Z. And so that was the thought. But again, this is the first year they're using it. And so the teachers are the experts and are realizing what areas of the year so far they know needs adjustment.
Which brings me to another point. I commend the principals, but the bottom line is the ones that really matter, the ones that have to make this decision are the teachers because they're the ones that are using the curriculum. They are the ones that are going to be held accountable for these results. And so my biggest reservations right now is no data for Bluebonnet. And based on me personally using what used to be Eureka, I do not support it. And that we haven't given STEM scopes an opportunity. This was a learning time for teachers to get who never used the program. Those that used it were at an advantage, but for those brand new, they had to get the training, they had to get to use it. So now they're feeling a little bit more comfortable in it, and now you're going to turn around and give them something new. From a teacher's point of view, that's not good. So that's my spill.
Thank you, Ms. Maldonado.
And go ahead.
Hi, good evening.
Can we stop? Yes. Can we go ahead and let one of the trustees ask the question? Please?
I'm sorry, Mr. Martinez, do you have...
okay?
Hold on, Mr. Martinez. Do you have a response to one of my points?
Well, I just wanted to clarify a few misconceptions in terms of, I know we're using Eureka Math interchangeably with Bluebonnet Learning. However, the
Can you introduce yourself? I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Lillian Frazier. I'm with the ESC Region 19. And so I just wanted to clarify that with Bluebonnet Learning, although Eureka Math was the initial curriculum that the state, some of the districts within the state were utilizing, they were collecting a lot of feedback from the practitioners in the classroom to hear all of the things that you are speaking about, looking at the scope and sequence and giving the feedback that the scope and sequence was too long for teachers to be able to teach all of the curriculum that they needed before we got to STAR. And so a lot of that feedback was taken in account in addition to looking at the rigor and also taking additional research. So although Bluebonnet Learning is edition 1 and this is the first year, there is a multiple of research that identify best practices that have gone into building Bluebonnet learning. And so looking at the idea of making sure that all of our students have access to Tier 1 grade level instruction is the focus of the Bluebonnet learning. So I just wanted to kind of clarify the interchanging, because Bluebonnet learning is not Eureka Math. It is a very different curriculum that has the enhancements based off the feedback from our practitioners across the state. In addition to, although does not have a small group, because it's not a Tier 1 supplemental resource, right? It is a Tier 1 curriculum. So therefore, you are going to see whole group instruction. However, as the teachers complete their concept development and provide those students those problem sets and those opportunity to work independently, those are the opportunities through internalization that teachers are able to call in specific students and bring them into small group and work with them on grade level curriculum and grade level standards. Now, I know in talking to some of the teachers that did come to fill out the surveys and take a look at the curriculum, I believe they have a total in the elementary about 90 minutes. So 2nd through 5th grade is a 60-minute curriculum for math. So that means that you have that 30-minute for Tier 2 instruction to actually close the gaps. So what research in terms of TNTP and the opportunity myth, what Bluebonnet Learning is doing is giving equitable opportunity to all of our students during Tier 1 instruction. Now, when we talk about Tier 2, we're looking at closing the gaps and identifying specific needs for those students, yes, that we will supplement. Now, we're thinking big picture and the long run, right? And so with Bluebonnet Learning, there are going to be additional resources that is coming out through the EMER review to continue to complement Bluebonnet Learning math, as well as coming out with the supplemental resources to be able to support in Tier 2. Now, additional feedback that was provided was the idea that there wasn't enough STAR language for our students when it was Eureka Math. But when talking to our teachers, we informed them that your testing bank is going to provide you with 2 testing banks. You're going to have a unit testing bank, but you're also going to have a STAR testing bank. And so depending on how the district decide to utilize those banks, you can utilize the STAR bank and have students exactly, like you said, Ms. Borrego, they can practice how they play, and you can be able to use those assessments and have them practice STAR-like questions throughout the entire year if you like. However, if you would like something a little bit more conceptual, where it's open-ended, to really see if students are really understanding that math, then you'll utilize the unit assessments that will be uploaded in Eduphoria. So there's 2 different ways that you can utilize those assessments to ensure that the students are practicing the way that they will potentially play in that game. So I just kind of wanted to clarify a few of those.
Ma'am, let me ask you. Within Region 19, what are the districts that are using Bluebonnet?
Okay, so we do have a list. We have EPISD, we have Clint, we also have Tornillo, we have Fort Hancock ISD, we have Del City ISD, and then we also have a few charter schools that's also utilizing.
Thank you. Ms. Ortega, go ahead.
Actually using the curriculum, and thank you for answering that. So somebody El Paso is EPISD is no.
The recording's okay.
Okay. So my second question is, we did the RIF, I believe, last February, March. So
it's been 2 years. We've had 2 years of RIFs.
okay, all right. So that was my second question. So we are starting to see how that affected the students in the middle school. So, and then I'm gonna go to comparisons, because obviously I'm not a teacher, but I'm very thankful that the principals were here to relate the information of how they felt, that they told us how the teachers felt about it, because that does help us. But the way I'm looking at it right now is, if you have a household, right, and you have one car, and that car does not, if that car breaks down, then you don't have that second availability for you as a family. But if you have 2 vehicles, then if one breaks down, you're able to use the other one. And not only that, like, for example, me and my husband, right, we have different tastes. And I'm sure that there's teachers that have different abilities, different ways that they teach, different ways that their students, their student population is different. So they would know their students, and they would know how to best implement, Bluebonnet, and how to use STEM scopes as a supplement for it. So I think if we give teachers choice, they already have the education, they know their population, and they would make the best decision for their classroom. I think you can't go wrong with 2 curricula. You can't. You got to give teacher, and we have some feedback. It's not like they're just telling us, oh, here's the Bluebonnet, what do you think? No, they actually brought people that came and spoke and told us what the teachers, they looked at it and they were for it. They're not telling us they're completely against it. So for that reason, I think it'd be great to have both.
Thank you, Ms. Ortega. Ms. Barnes?
Sorry, I just want to address, make a clarification that EPISD is considering. They still have to take, but they are in consideration of Bluebonnet learners. I just want to make that correction.
Thank you, ma'am.
So EPISD is using Eureka currently.
They approved it in December.
That is correct.
They're using
They
Eureka.
are using Eureka.
Okay.
Mr. Rodriguez, you have a comment?
I guess in regards to the state or TEA, what is the mandate? There we go. What is the mandate from, I guess, TEA and or the commissioner to region service centers regarding Bluebonnet? And is there a mandate to push one curriculum over another?
No, there is no mandate to push one curriculum over the other. However, because it is an open enrollment resource, it is a curriculum that we have access to and are able to go in and utilize and, use in our trainings and so forth. So there's no mandate to push one curriculum over the other.
And I guess my concern, I'm not an expert, and I appreciate both Ms. Borrego's perspective as well as Ms. Maldonado's in regards to it, but I mean, it's kind of common sense. If you don't have any data to look at to see if the curriculum is effective, I'm a little concerned as to not only the push, but the recommendation from administration. And at this point, I cannot support Bluebonnet curriculum, especially on the math side. We would look at best practices. Any conference we go to is looking at best practices, looking at what the data tells us. And there's also data, from my understanding, when you talk about Eureka, that's not even showing positive outcomes. So I'm a little concerned, and at this time, I can't support us using Bluebonnet. And not only that, when you look at, there was an article from the Texas Tribune on the first original, there's several, where there was 41,000 corrections just on the first curriculum that they rolled out. And I'm a little concerned with the state being a publisher as well. And so this is very concerning, and not just, I'm a little concerned and frustrated, but upset, and I don't believe our kids should be guinea pigs when it comes to, testing this curriculum and seeing if it's going to work. And so at this point, I cannot support it.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Ms. Barnes?
Thank you. So first, I want to say I think we shot ourselves in the foot a little bit with STEM scopes, because the data that we're looking at currently, we don't know how reliable it is, simply because we didn't purchase the manipulative kits that we should have purchased with the curriculum. Am I correct in saying that?
You are correct, but CNI did provide campuses with the kits. We printed them ourselves, we gathered things, and we did provide elementary schools with that. Just because we didn't purchase it, we wanted to make sure that they had the full experience.
Okay, but that's good to know. I didn't know that. So even though we didn't purchase it from STEM Scopes, they were offered the manipulatives that would have been given through those kits for the material. Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. That makes me feel that the data we have is a little more accurate, because I was worried that maybe it's not so accurate. But in regard to STEM scopes, I can agree with Ms. Borrego in regard to, and Ms. Maldonado, that in order for us to really see how it's working, we need to give it time, right? We can't judge a book by its cover, and that's really all we've got right now. But I also I do have some reservations. So I can speak just like the rest of them in regard to STEM scopes. It's a great curriculum, but it is very, very, very high rigor. And so sometimes when you have students that aren't to that level and they're not understanding your tier 1 instruction that's way over their head, it can make it difficult for them to meet the level that we need them to meet. So that's where I think maybe Bluebonnet can help us to give those resources that maybe STEM Scopes is missing on the scaffolding side, on those lower level areas to be able to help our kids who aren't quite to that enrichment level that STEM Scopes offers. So I do see that. You mentioned Zern. What is that?
So it's like an adaptive learning tool software that we would supplement along with Bluebonnet and/or STEM Scopes, because neither one offers that.
Okay, and what does it offer that the other two curriculums
So
don't?
like STEM Scopes gives you the ability to assess your students beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. But when it comes to where they actually land, this is a tool that will help them. It's like a diagnostic. So as they're going and working through the math problems, it's adaptive and gives them what they need at their level, so it can slowly increase and get them to grade level.
More
so
like
to speak.
Alexia?
Sure.
Because it adapts on, like, in real time.
Alexia is a little
Okay.
bit different, but yeah.
If I may.
Yes.
I use Zern to
Okay.
EPISD. Think of it as a tutoring.
Okay.
So they take their diagnostic, it puts them at a certain level, and then the program is adaptive to their learning.
In real time.
It's taking into their learning, basically,
And-
every time they log in.
And neither STEM Scopes nor Bluebonnet has anything like that?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that that's definitely something that we need to look at, because we need something that we can support in those areas. In regard to Eureka data, I'm being told, on one side that the data doesn't look good, but I would like to know, is that what you guys are seeing as well? Or in regard to Bluebonnet data, because I know Eureka and Bluebonnet is not exactly the same. I know we don't have final data yet, but what are we seeing? We have at least interim, right, that we can look at. So what are we seeing from the districts that have been implementing it this last year?
We are seeing pockets of growth, but just like anything, and I think what's being voiced as a concern is the combination of the two, the curriculum and the implementation support, right? And so wherever we see strong implementation support with leadership in tandem with Bluebonnet Learning is where we see the improvement. Also, starting, some of this work began far east Texas, other districts such as Aldine ISD, which is one of the individuals that kind of started out with this particular curriculum, and where you are able to see a lot of gains within the particular districts. Now, here in our region, like I said, we do have pockets of growth. We have Clint ISD, who have been utilizing from Eureka Math going into Bluebonnet, and you also see pockets of growth in their data as well. And so, we're excited to see the end of this school year with the districts that are implementing. But again, what you will see is the combination of that implementation support. And that also goes back to the point that Ms. Borrego was making as well earlier, in terms of making sure that they have all of the things, right? The floaties and everything, so that they can swim, right? And so that's where the power comes in, with the service center being able to support not only just your teachers, but your leaders. And so one of the huge things that we start off with the PD to really have a strong implementation is helping teachers and leaders understand the why. And so before we even get into the how, we talk about why is it important that students have high rigor instruction, and what are the practices and the research that we should know as practitioners, and what to look for in curriculums. So regardless if we're 5 or 10 years down the line, we're going to be training our teachers and our leaders to have that eye, to be able to be very critical of curriculum, and no longer just giving a blind eye and say, hey, we like this particular curriculum. So through the the teaching of the why, and then also going back to that internalization so that it's not a scripted curriculum, and so that teachers are able to utilize their data from their screeners to be able to determine how am I going to implement this instruction. Also looking at videos of the actual implementation of the lesson and determine what adjustments do I need to make for my students so that I am prepared to go into that classroom. Having opportunities to do lesson rehearsals. We talk about practice. Well, make sure that our teachers are practicing those lessons, right? And so we build those strong practices in PLCs so that teachers and leaders feel 100% prepared to implement this particular curriculum that is already aligned to the TEKS, that already is considered high quality. And so what happens when you give great or wait 2 or 3 years for the teacher to develop? We now have a curriculum that can be put in the place of the hands of a new teacher as well as a veteran teacher to be able to launch all of our students.
So you kind of mentioned something that was going to be something I asked about. So I keep hearing that it's scripted. Based off of the people who saw the curriculum here, my principals, I think, might have left, so unfortunately. Do you find, I guess I can ask you, Dr. Kearney and Dr. Arellano, did you find that the Bluebonnet curriculum is scripted and it's going to hold back maybe our more experienced teachers?
It is scripted. However, I think that, the more experienced teachers will, if we could have the STEM scopes as the supplemental, which is the rigor that you mentioned and the enrichment part of it, could utilize that.
Okay, and I think that's because I know as a first year teacher, thinking back all those years when I started, having a scripted lesson was kind of nice because they send you from college into a classroom and go, good luck. They give you a sink or swim, right? And unfortunately, not all new teachers have mentor teachers that are teaching them how to teach their lessons and things like that. So I get what you're saying in regard to scripted curriculum, how there are downsides to it, but I think that there can also be positives to it. But I say all of that to say we can't use that as our, what's the word I'm looking for? We can't use that as our excuse to not train our new teachers. We can't say, oh, well, here's your scripted curriculum. Just go ahead and follow it, right? And you don't need any help. We want even our new teachers to present themselves in the classroom as a master teacher. That's what we want materials for them to be able to do. So I think it would be nice for them to have something to follow and then have a supplement to add to it. And their mentor teachers or their teachers that they're doing PLCs can help them to learn how to use those supplemental materials in ways to up their lesson as well. So that's the way that I'm looking at it. In regard to the additional training that you're mentioning from Region 19, are there additional costs that come along with that if you have to come in and train our teachers and staff?
That's a great question. We're actually in a position to be able to support the district with the implementation and support and training. So therefore, in the short answer, we'll be able to support you guys on that end. So the only investment that you guys will pretty much be making will be your print costs for your materials.
The upfront costs, okay. I'm sorry.
Print costs.
The print costs. Okay, so that's another one of my questions. So have we taken those print costs into consideration, Dr. Borrego? Yes, okay. So in regard to, I know we have here STEM scopes, 218 for the Spanish and English student bundles, and then 220 for the for the student kits. So are we saying that altogether STEM scopes is $438,000? Am I looking at that correctly? Yes, okay. And then Bluebonnet is 221, but we still have to print all of our materials. Am I understanding that correctly?
So you are going to get, for example, with purchasing Bluebonnet Learning, you're going to get a total of $60 allotment per student within your district.
Okay.
Although you're only purchasing materials for students who are utilizing those math materials. And so there is a bit of an offset there because you're not buying materials for every single student. However, you are getting funds per student under that $60 allotment.
And if I may, that is the cost for K through Algebra 1
okay.
for Bluebonnet.
So when I was doing some math back here earlier. So the $40 per student is basically 236,000. And if we take that plus the approximate 118,000 that we would get for the additional $20 with Bluebonnet, we would be looking at about 354-ish dollars for Bluebonnet. I say that to say it would cost us 221, but we would actually make a little bit more to be able to cover some of those printing costs. Am I looking at that correctly? I just want to make sure I'm looking at we're not putting ourselves into the hole, because we know how that is. So, okay, so I am looking at that correctly. We are still going to be in the black even after having to print these materials. Would you agree? Okay. Secondly, in regard to TRS, I do have to agree with Ms. Borrego. I was very concerned when we looked at cutting it. I know we had that discussion, and if only our past vision was 2020, right? Like, that's all we can say. I think we learned what a vital resource that was, and I'm glad that we're looking at considering bringing it back. And I do think that that would be vital for us to look at. So I'm glad that that's something that we're considering.
Thank you. Ms. Barnes. Ms. Zuniga? I have some comments. I fully understand that there's a new program, and I fully understand, because I saw the books, I spent some time learning. I'm not as familiar as Ms. Borrego and Ms. Maldonado. They made it very clear the way they stand. And based on their experience, it's very good experience, and it's very good information they're providing to us. I also believe that, based on 2019 and 2022, our school was performing very highly. And because of the changes that we made, it really hurt us. I also believe that if we give a program a chance, we need to give it a full chance, the full time to really do its work. And if we only buying just a half a bag of goods, it's like buying a baseball bat without a ball. It doesn't work that way. We need to buy all the tools and spend the time to really educate our kids. And it's obvious with the changes that we made, obviously that our kids are, could be performing a little better. But I also have the faith that our teachers are going to do well this coming year and the years to come. I do. I think we've seen them in the campuses where they're really performing and they're really coming through. My concern is also the way the survey was done. It's kind of interesting because the no preference is 15%. But it's pretty obvious that this thing is very well divided, to the point that, STEM scopes, came up ahead. When you look at the other data, where maybe it's 42%, it really didn't make any sense, maybe. Do we want to consider both of them? Maybe, right? You got to take a stand whether once you understand and look at both of those programs, decide whether it's going to work for you and your kids or not. I didn't understand this survey the way it was presented, my opinion. Maybe. My opinion is we need to give some of these programs that we purchase a chance. We have to. It's a lot of invested not only within the district, but also within our community. This money that we spend. And I fully understand there's a new program in town, and it would be fantastic to implement it. And if we can put money in our pocket, it will be fantastic. But I don't want to do it at our expense, like Mr. Rodriguez said, at the expense of our kids. And I want to make sure that all of us understand, Dr. Kearney, Dr. Arellano, we need to move forward. We really need to focus on our kids, and if we spend $100, let's spend them wisely, and if we need to spend $110 just to buy those additional tools to make our kids be successful, let's do it. Thank you.
And I just have one comment, because I want everybody to understand. The adoption process, the proclamation, used to require an adoption like Envisions for 8 years. So the HQIM started this school year. So it's different. Now every year you have the choice to adopt, as long as it's a high quality instructional material.
have continued with Envision's math, that did not make, it was rated like a 2 out of 4 in the commissioner's list. It was not rated a good resource. And so we went with STEM Scopes because there was only 4 or 5 products, and because we had already used it as a supplemental. But to the TEKS resource, I just want everyone to understand that TEKS resource, we had it because Envision's math, there was no scope and sequence. Now with HQIM, that's one of the requirements for the application, is that it has its own scope, and there's a lot of things that's required. And so we were following the scope and sequence of the whatever we would have chosen, whether it would have been Bluebonnet at the time or STEM Scopes, we would have chosen to follow that scope and sequence and not the other. It just so happens that Bluebonnet is more aligned with TEKS RS. And so I just wanted to make that, the decision was not, we did a lot of research into choosing intentionally for our students. And so I just want to make that very clear. Our coordinators, the PD, you're absolutely right, Ms. Borrego. Professional development for STEM Scopes still needs to happen, and we need to continue doing that. We have one math coordinator for the entire district who was working every day, going to PLCs. We even brought our ELAR coordinator. They work together to provide the PD and continue to do so. And so that's something that we will continue to do regardless of whatever is chosen today.
So may I make a few more comments, please? I have a question.
Can we allow the superintendent to speak?
Okay.
Please.
Thank you. So I appreciate, Trustee Borrego, I appreciate your point of view and your years of service. You've had a tenured career with a fantastic leader that I admire, and all the teachers and the fact that everyone's weighing in. This is an important decision. But as the instructional leader, I think it's, I have to say, when I was elected to be the superintendent, I was elected because of part of my success as an instructional leader. I don't have as many years of experience and success as you, Ms. Borrego, but, I do come from the largest district in the state. When I was part of the North Division team in my caseload, we had schools that were predominantly failing, D and F campuses. In 2 years, we were able to turn the data around. One of the things that I want to also highlight is if you look at the 2024 TA report, my work is featured there. Wainwright Elementary went from an F to an A. In that year, when scores were trending down all across the state, there was 3 schools in the state that went from an F to an A. One of them was mine, Wainwright Elementary. So I know a little bit about some curriculum. And so I want to make a point of clarification. STEM Scopes was used as the official curriculum last year or this year, but it was also used as a supplemental aid the year before. So we've had 2 years, right? So we've had 2 years. The first year was to get familiar with it. Hey, it's not your core curriculum. It's a supplemental curriculum. Teachers were exposed to it. Now we're in the year of implementation. And when I look at the data, I don't see positive results, right? I tell everyone all the time, you'll hear me say this, we're an outcomes-based organization. Our students can't wait. They cannot wait. They cannot continue to fail. When I look at the drops and I look at double-digit drops, we talk about doing what's right for kids. I say, how is it that we can drop 2-letter grades and say, this is okay, let's maintain course? I'm not comfortable with that. One of the things that I also want to say, when you look at long-range planning, we're not looking at just what's ahead right now. We're looking at where the state is headed, right? We live in the state of Texas. I have students that come from red homes and blue homes. I am a steward of all students. My point is, when we look at long-range planning, Bluebonnet will eventually serve as the operating system for other developing curriculums. We're talking about CTE courses. We're talking about some of the other things, right, and some of the other curriculums. So as it evolves, our students will be exposed to how the curriculum is developed. When we look at it, one of the things that I've, when I came here, I said, hey, tell me about what you're using. I went on a listening tour. I said, hey, I want to listen to principals. I want to listen to teachers. I want to listen to parents. I want to listen to trustees. And I said, hey, tell me what's on top of your mind. From this panel, I heard we want to make sure our student outcomes reflect the excellence of this community. And I said, I understand. When I talk to the principals that are there day to day, I listen and they said, hey, this curriculum, we're handcuffed. It's not helping. And it wasn't all the principals, but it was most of them. And so, I appreciate their honesty and their candidness because they said, hey, what do I need to remove? My job as a superintendent is to remove obstacles and provide support where needed. They said, the curriculum, sometimes it's not as easy. We don't have much training. And you know what? Our math instructional coordinator, she did a phenomenal job. She was one person that had to train an entire district. So I can't say enough wonderful things about her. But it's not fair to put the weight of the entire district on that one person. And so one of the things that the Region Service Center is offering is to partner with us and say, hey, we will go into the trenches and train. When I look at my executive leaders and I say, hey, it's not right that just one person trained the entire staff, instructional staff. I said, what about our principals? What about our cabinet members? All of us have been teachers. All of us have been. We should be in classes. We should be supporting. And so that's the goal, right? I've been here. They say, hey, we're missing systems. We're missing alignment. We got a curriculum, but we didn't have the resources. Well, resources were printed later, but we didn't have it at the beginning. And so I said, well, tell me more about that. How did that happen? And so those are some of the systems that we've been trying to address. We've been trying to purchase something that's comprehensive. When we talk about teacher autonomy, we're talking about multiple resources. No one student learns the same way. Every student learns a different way. When we pick just one curriculum, we're saying, hey, this is the path you're on. That's why we're saying, hey, let's unshackle teachers and let's give them the tools. They get to decide. We're honoring teachers and their autonomy by saying, hey, we hear you, we understand you. Here's the resource, here's a base resource, but you also have a resource for enrichment, and we're gonna provide a resource for intervention. And so we're allowing teachers. When we talk about scripting, what percentage of our teachers are new teachers? It's about a third. A third of our teacher corps is brand new. To Ms. Barnes' point, some of them would love something that's scripted because they have something to lean on. It's a scaffold. It's not meant to be a requirement, right? Nobody in the instructional team is saying, hey, teachers, you must read the curriculum as is. What we're saying is, when you look at where the state is going and you look at Domain 1, part of the process is internalization. So what does that mean? You take the curriculum, you internalize it, you make it your own, and then you deliver it based on the needs of your students. And so that's part of what we're trying to do. And so, again, for a veteran teacher, maybe Bluebonnet is too rudimentary. So they have something that's, more rigorous in STEM scopes, but it provides a scaffold. So scripting is available, but it's not required. I'd like to thank our principals. I know they left, but maybe they'll catch this or not, for just sharing their opinion. They're at schools every day. They're with our students every day, right now, in this moment. And so, just the fact that they shared. I'd also like to thank, I want to clarify something. So I invited the Region 19. Thank you for being here. They're here on my request. They're not here because they were sent by anyone. I asked them, hey, as the experts, I need your help. I cannot explain Bluebonnet from A to Z. I said, I am not the expert. I have not delved in it. I said, so thank you for being here. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you taking the time for talking to our teachers, for explaining the material. Again, there's nothing nefarious. No one's getting paid anything. STEM scopes also, if they were to come train us, they would also get compensated. So it's disingenuous to say we're giving, anybody something. I want to clarify that. I want to clarify that. STEM scopes wouldn't be here for free either. So all right. And then also, when we look at it, no single curriculum is a silver bullet. You're looking, right? You have to look at implementation. You have to look at training. I said, hey, which one of the programs comes with training? Which one of them comes with resources? Which one comes? I look at the instructional team and I say, hey, I have a team of what? We have a team of 5, right? Dr. Arellano and the 4 different subject matter experts. And I said, this team is going to have to start doing training across the district. I said, what does that look like? How are we going to roll it out? And so those are some of the things that we're looking at. And so, again, I'm super grateful to the panel. Thank you, Dr. Arellano. Thank you, Dr. Kearney. This is a big, big decision for our district. Again, I'm not saying that, as the instructional leader, I propose we go with Bluebonnet. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Borrego.
I was,
Ma'am? Ms. Borrego, you ready?
Okay, yes, I am.
Can you make it short, please?
No, now I'm going to make it even longer. No, I'm kidding. This is an important decision for the district. First of all, thank you, Dr. Borrego, and I respect your curriculum, and I think that's what makes in school districts great is when we're not yes people and we argue back and forth. I have my belief system. I believe in high expectations. I don't believe that we settle because we have teachers that are new or whatever, or aren't as good as the other one or whatever. I think we teach all of them at the higher level. So to that. Ms. Barnes, kits are a one-time purchase only. So those prices, you got to look at it on that. It's not, the kits are a one-time purchase, okay? So you know that. I think it's still like that, right? Kits are a one-time purchase, okay. And that's how they've been. Region 19, hey, I know you're doing what you're doing. I've got to go with my passion and my belief and the way that I think my success came for kids at the elementary level, as an elementary principal, as a high school principal, and then as a curriculum and instruction person. So mine will come from I have all due respect for Dr. Borrego. I think we've had some great conversations about curriculum and instruction. I'm also very torn because I don't believe in telling him what to do as far as instruction is concerned. But I also feel in my core, and you could say, all due respect to you, ma'am, all the things about scripted, and it's scripted. It's scripted at the end of the day. It's scripted, and you say you could have all the teachers could veer off of it. Well, nor here nor there. We're not ever going to agree on that. But here's what, to your point, and to your point, to y'all's point, is that you're wanting to make it easier for teachers because of Bluebonnet. Now you're going to make them learn 2 curriculums? That doesn't even make sense. Now you're saying, oh, we got to help these new teachers and we got to get out there. And now we're going to have to teach them how to use 2 curriculums. We couldn't even teach them how to use 1. And now we're going to do 2. And I'm saying that with all due respect. I've got to say it. You know how I'm going to vote. I got to go with my heart. And when I was elected, and maybe I won't be elected again if I run again, but I always said I was going to go with what I felt was the right thing to do from my practice. And I will support you 100%, whichever way it goes. I'm only one person, but I gotta be a champion for kids, and after them, teachers. And so it was quick. See, there you go, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Borrego. That was nice. Ms. Maldonado, and then Ms. Barnes.
Okay, so I just want to read something that elementary curriculum for Bluebonnet is primarily developed and built on the research-based Eureka Math TEACS curriculum. And so I saw the material. It says Eureka at the bottom. I've used it, type thing. I don't feel it has enough rigor because I'm a veteran teacher and STEM Scopes had a lot more. The thing that concerns me when you're saying to get both is that I feel that teachers are going to be held to the fire to use Bluebonnet as the base. And it's kind of like we used to use Envision, but we could bring something else in. EPISD held us to the fire. You will not deviate from Eureka. And I'm afraid that that's what's going to happen here because of the perks that we get. And like I said, we cannot compromise student achievement and student learning based on perks. I'm sorry, but we get $40 from STEM Scopes as it is anyway, correct? The only thing we're not getting is the additional 20. We already have kits, correct? If we need to purchase more, right? And so, again, I mean, like Ms. Borrego, I'm a true believer. I'm going to vote what my gut says and what my constituents say and what the data says. The data says that 47% prefer to keep STEM Scopes. And these are teachers that came, took the time, looked at the material. So I'm using my gut, I'm using my passion, I'm using my experience because I taught the Eureka. And for one, I was not impressed whatsoever. And I'm going by the data that I'm provided. Biggest reservation is no data for Bluebonnet. I'm sorry, but there isn't. So.
Thank you, Ms. Maldonado. Ms. Barnes, go ahead.
So just a little bit of information about data. I know we don't have solid data yet. I will say that I spoke with a friend of mine in East Texas. She's a principal at one campus and she's a board member at another. And they are using Bluebonnet. And she said that as of their interim, they are seeing that their scores are staying solid. So they're not seeing dips, but their scores were good and they're staying there. So that's positive information to me, at least one report. That's all I could really find. I didn't hear back from anybody else. But I found one person to back up what you told me earlier. So there's that. In regard to Bluebonnet and what you said, Dr. Borrego, we know how the state works. Usually when something goes into effect and it might be, you can use this now, so on and so forth. If it's something that they implemented, usually it's something that they end up sticking with, and then something else is tied to it, right? Mm-hmm. And so I see that as, if this ends up affecting the STAR test in the future, I see it as a positive to be able to help our students get a year or so ahead in regard to seeing how this curriculum is laid out and how maybe eventually they would be tested from the state's perspective. So I see that as a benefit over a negative, I guess, in that regard. It is, I'm not going to sit here and, throw flowers up your butt, but it's going to be hard to use two different curriculums, right? Especially when I feel like we didn't do a great job of giving the professional development that we should have on STEM scopes to begin with. I know we only had one person really doing that, and that makes the job really tough, but I think that's part of the reason that we're in the situation that we're in. But now that we would have additional help to have the training on the other side, then I feel like we could utilize both and really help our students. Because as you said, Dr. Borrego, our scores are not looking great as of right now. They weren't looking great when we started, and we're going down from there. So what can we do to help those teachers and those students that are not benefiting from the STEM scopes that they currently have? Maybe it's offering something that they can utilize. So my last point, I guess, is we brought on Dr. Borrego to lead. We saw the great things that he offered, and now when he's saying this is a change that I'm listening to all of the people from the campuses and this is what they're asking me for, and I'm going to lead from the helm, and then we're saying no, you can't do it. I disagree with that, because then how are we going to hold him accountable at the end of the day if we still are failing at the end of next year and we didn't take on Bluebonnet? There's no way for us to know whether or not it would have been better if we would have taken it on. So that's his recommendation, and I see the reasoning behind it. I agree with him, and I hope that we can support him so that he can lead the district as the leader of our district. So.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Now, I know we've been discussing this for quite some time, and I think most of you have your own opinion on which way you're going to vote. And I fully understand, the way you feel, and it's that's why we're here, to make those tough decisions.
Hold on, I have a question.
So Lily, please, cut it short, please.
Ms. Barnes just triggered a question, mentioning how our numbers are going down, our scores and things. So what did Deanna Davenport do last year where they went from a D to an A? They used STEM scopes, correct? So what did they do?
So from what I know in my observations and conversations with the staff there at the time, they used both Wonders and Maravillas to its fidelity. If that's the word I would use, that's they stuck true to
well, that's the LAR, but how about for math?
For both.
So fidelity with STEM scopes. Okay. So my point is, if they went from a D to an A, then we need to mimic that throughout the district
Yeah, they were the one campus that we piloted.
with STEM scopes, correct? Thank you.
And with that in mind, guys, we spend a lot of time at Deanna Davenport coaching that school. And that's what we're lacking right now. Keep in mind that that's where Region 19 is coming to us and telling us they're willing to give us that help that we need. We need that help. Okay?
Well, how about we take the money that we don't use on,
Ms. Borrego, allow me please to
Okay.
finish. Thank you, ma'am. We need that help. And I'm going to say, yes, if we decide to go with one or the other, we need to find that help so that we can improve every one of our schools, flat out. We need to. We cannot say, okay, Davenport is failing, let's give him a coach up there to spend, I don't know, 20 hours a day, a week, just coaching some of the teachers. No, we have to do it throughout the district. So we need to find those individuals and keep in mind that if we want our district to improve, then we need to find those people and make sure we find the money to pay those people to be coaching some of these elementary schools. Thank you.
I have one more comment to that, sir, is that using the money on Bluebonnet, that money could be used to exactly what you're saying. One person has done math for the entire district. You get a person, a coach at each one of those to do the training, to do the staff development for STEM scopes math, it's going to soar. But instead, we're going to buy another program that nobody's going to support because we only have one math person.
Ms. Borrego, why didn't we do that the past 3 years? we've been-
you're,
I don't know. I wasn't
You're
superintendent.
limited on those funds, on how they can be utilized. Unfortunately, the $40 can only go towards the purchase of the, it doesn't free up. It's not like they give you the money
right,
and
they
put it in
don't.
your account.
So
They just like
I
that-
understand
yeah.
that fully. So how are we buying STEM scopes?
Hey,
The
guys,
same way, it's a high-quality
yeah,
instructional material.
let's call for the vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the adoption under item A, which is adoption of the STEM scopes math instructional material grade K Algebra 1.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Motion made by Mr. Rodriguez, second by Ms. Maldonado. Adrian, call for the vote.
Yes.
Ms. Borrego,
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortega,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Zúñiga.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
So you make now a motion for the second one?
If I may, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the Bluebonnet Learning Mathematics curriculum for K through Algebra 1. And this will be for the next school year, correct?
I second that motion.
The motion made by Ms. Barnes, second by Ms. Ortega. Please call for the vote, Adrian.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Ms. Borrego,
So I got to go with my gut and with my heart. No due respect. You have my support, Mr. Superintendent, but it's a no for me.
Mrs. Maldonado,
No, and I'm going with data.
Mr. Martinez,
No.
Mrs. Ortega,
It's a yes for me, and I'm going that every child learns differently.
Mr. Rodriguez,
No.
Mrs. Zúñiga.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Region 19.
Item 4C, District Report, an intruder detection audit was conducted in the district by Region 19, Texas Education Agency. Findings will be shared with the District School Safety and Security Committee and the Board of Trustees. A plan of action is in place and will be shared with the Board of Trustees.
Good evening, Dr. Borrego, Board President Martinez, and Board of Trustees. This item will be discussed during the executive session. We did meet with our Safety and Security Committee, and we briefed them on this item also.
No action taken. That leads to item number 4, consent agenda voting.
I so move.
Mr.
I am asking to pull item 5A1D for an amendment. 5A1D.
D, as in David.
5A1D.
I don't know why your microphone's not working well. Like
5A1D.
5A1D.
That's in dog.
It's the approval of the December 16, 2025 regular board meeting. It's the minutes.
Oh, 5-1D.
So I make a motion to.
Not yet. No, I have one I need to pull as well.
Go ahead, Ms. Barnes.
I need to pull 5A4. For the approval of the elementary, middle, and high school library materials.
Okay.
Please.
Anybody else? Okay, do I hear a motion? Armando?
I was going to ask, but I,
Go ahead.
just in regards to, were those questions referred to before the board meeting?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of those two.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
The motion was made by Mr. Rodriguez and second by Ms. Barnes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Borrego stepped out. Ms. Maldonado?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortega?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Zúñiga?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 5A1D, approval of the December 16, 2025 regular board meeting minutes.
So I make a motion to approve with the following amendment, that I abstain from voting on that motion. It was, and also stated on item 4A1 on the minutes on December 16, 2025.
What was that again?
So
No, abstaining.
they have me recorded as voting yes, but I did not vote
She,
yes, I abstained.
she abstained.
December 16th minutes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I motion to approve with the following amendment.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Made by Ms. Barnes, second by Ms. Borrego.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Borrego?
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortega?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Zúñiga?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 5A4, approval of the 2025-2026 elementary, middle school, and high school library materials to comply with requirements under Senate Bill 13. Presenter, Dr. Oscar Rico.
I had pulled another item. 5A4. I pulled that one.
Yes.
Yes, that is
So
correct.
are we going to discuss that?
Yes.
Oh, that's Dr. Rigo. Sorry.
Yes.
I wasn't expecting you to be the person presenting this, so I thought we moved on to something else. I apologize.
I am also the resident librarian. So
I'm sorry.
thank you. I have my glasses.
Is
now
it
I'm losing
midnight
my
yet?
sight, so I can look more librarianish. President Martinez, Superintendent Borrego, members of the board. Good evening to everybody.
Good evening.
They're good. Thank you for bringing this up to our attention as well. Before we begin the discussion, I want to make a clarification because I had not noticed until we were checking on the backup documentation. The only ones that we can legally bring up for your approval on the attachment for the library book order is going to be book order first, second, and third book order on the attachments. Because as you can see, the fourth and fifth book orders still have not reached the 30-day threshold stated by Senate Bill 13. So we are only presenting first, second, and third book order for approval.
Okay. Now, these are our current books that are in the library now, or these are books that we are ordering to add to the library?
Great question. Thank you, Ms. Barnes. So these are not books currently in our catalog. So with Senate Bill 13, any ISBN that is currently in the collection doesn't need board approval. Whether we buy any variation of that book, an ebook, a tearaway, another paper copy, a paperback, or a hardback. These are all new titles that may be purchased. Now, let me clarify that as well. I think librarians wanted to have approval before they go ahead and purchase. So the list is highly inclusive, and we wish we had all the money to buy all the books on this list for all of our libraries, but it is just not within their means, right? So I represent the librarians by telling you that this is an all-inclusive list of what could be purchased, not necessarily what will be purchased once the funding and approval goes through. We can also put this on a Thursday packet if approved, which books and what libraries it went to.
Perfect, that makes sense. And I did see things in here like posters and different bookmarks and so on and so forth. So I'm assuming this would be stuff that would be ordered as well for like a book fair, things of that sort. Am I
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
We have to approve stuff for book fairs ahead of time. Otherwise, it cannot be on those book fairs.
Okay, and that kind of answers the question that I had initially asked. So I had seen that there were books that I knew in our current library that weren't on this list, but it does state online that those books are available. What's the terminology used? There are no local copies of this title. Off-site copies are available. Do you know what that means?
No, but I can find the answer to that and put it on the Thursday packet. We do not have any sharing agreement with any other library. So usually what that means is that it's found somewhere else, but we do not have any interlocal agreements with any school district, and then we do not have access to the city public libraries.
Right, and that's why I was confused, because some of the ones that I was looking at say available like 0 of 1, meaning it's checked out. So if we don't have it on our shelf, how is it checked out? And then others would say like available 1 of 1. So those were some of the questions that I had, because I didn't see those on this list, so that's why I didn't know if this was what was currently in there. Next question has to do with the posting online. So I know you stated that this has already been on for 30 days, the book orders 1 through 3. How were community members informed of that so that they knew to go on and look at it? Because I wouldn't have known.
Sure. So following on the guidance for Senate Bill 13 and that legal policy, we have to put it in our website in a site that contains all of their parental information. So the way we do this is by putting it under parents, right? So we put it under parents, library catalog posting, I can pull it up. And it includes both the listing of books as well as the link for them to make any comments, right?
Okay.
So should anybody have made any comments, according to Senate Bill 13, we would have presented this to you guys as backup material so that you could, let's say, X number of copies, or this particular book. There's a community member that says, hey, this is not something I want my kid or any other kid, right? And so we would present that to you so that you can make an informed decision.
Okay.
There was no comments made.
So as parents in the district, Ms. Ortega, Ms. Zuniga, did you guys know that that was there to be able to go and look at? Like, okay, that was my concern. Hearing that there was nothing that was reported or questions asked, things of that sort, and I hadn't seen anything about it, I have a feeling parents didn't even know it was there to even go and look. And I'm glad that it's there, that we're following what's in the law. But I think we need to be a little bit more transparent. If we're putting something out for our parents with a 30-day window for them to go and view, they need to know that it went out. However you guys deem that to be fit to let them know, but if we really want to include our parents and then be partner with us, then we need to include them in the conversation. So that would just be something I would ask for the future.
Okay.
Ms. Barnes, I think in relationship to this issue, I think since this is coming before us, we need to communicate to our community and say, take a look at this. But I think for the district to spend hours just letting the community in Cimarron know that we're going to have these books, in my opinion, is not a waste of time, but really time consuming.
But it's already on the web, correct, Adrian?
Correct.
That is
Right there?
correct. It is.
As a parent, yes.
You could easily post it on social media. Hey, parents, we're getting ready to post, or we're getting ready to order some books. So if you want to see what books are being ordered and see if you're okay with everything, check out this link. I mean, we do it for everything else. It would take 5 seconds to put a social media post together to do it for when we're going to order books.
So staying in my lane and not stepping into Gus's toes, because I know he's right behind me looking at me angrily. That's something that if the board decides to include in a local version of this policy, that we would gladly satisfy whatever policy requirement the board has if you deem it as necessary.
Yes, exactly.
That's
What is
exactly what I was
administration
gonna ask. Thank you.
recommendation?
Our recommendation is what we have included in the proposed working copy of the regulation, which is to follow Senate Bill 13. I know that Gus is extremely busy, so I know that I cannot step on his lane and tell him to do this or anything else, right? So our current recommendation is to follow Senate Bill 13. But again, we serve with the board's policy as well, right?
And I tend to agree with you 100%. It's there, it's listed. I think we as representatives of our community need to tell our community that it's there. Find it, it's there. I think by finding the time to really put it out to the public and either place it in Facebook or whatever other program it's out there, I think it's just spending a lot of time where we don't need to. That's
I'll
my
make
opinion.
a motion to approve administration's recommendation.
Okay.
I'll second.
So with that, campuses can also post it on their home webpage under parents, correct?
Correct, Ms. Maldonado, yes, or librarians could share it.
Yeah, librarians too.
Parents didn't know. I felt very flabbergasted when I read it on the board book, and I was like, why wasn't I told as a parent? I would like to know what books are there. So for that reason, I think communication has to be a priority for our district.
But we also have to, but we also have to remember of everything that campus people and administration have on their plate. And I'm not going to say more important things. No, I'm not. But basically things that have more of a timeline that have to be acted on. And so as a parent, I can go to the library and question certain books if that's what I'm wanting, or I can contact the principal and say, hey, do you have this book or whatever? But you'd be aware, my grandkids, when they go to the library and they're interested in a book, the librarian is there to help them. So I'm pretty sure that children who are in middle school and high school do the same thing. And so, yes, if parents have a concern over a certain book, they can always reach out type thing to administration, to the librarian, to the campus principals. But I tend to agree with Mr. Martinez.
And Ms. Maldonado, if I may elaborate, at the beginning of the month of September, when the legislation kicked in, my team with IT and my team with the librarians as well did an exhaustive effort to make sure that all of the parental accounts were created for just what you stated, right? So as a parent, you can go on there and exclude certain books from your child's catalog. So even if they would be at the library and not under a challenge or anything of the sort, a parent could make that determination online with that online basis.
And to add to that, have we trained our parents to know how to do that? Like, that's totally new. That was not something that we offered before. So did we show parents that was an availability now?
Thank you for your question, Ms. Barnes. No, so we send an email because it comes out through Destiny, which is our cataloging software, that an account was created, right?
Okay.
So that did go out there, very similar to Teams when we do registration coming up. So it goes out to parents saying you have access to this. I don't know the verbiage of the email because I'm not a parent of the district anymore. Mine are older. So I don't know exactly what it said. I do know, however, that librarians do run those trainings for parents that do ask for them, just like registrars do for teams. I don't know the answer to it. I can find out and put it in a Thursday packet whether we advertise that help or whether we actively solicited if there was anybody that needed it.
I would appreciate that because most parents are not keeping up to date with what legislative changes were made and what we're required to do and now offer. And so this is there, and I guarantee 99.9% of our parents have no idea what that email was that they received from Destiny saying now that you have an account that you can log into. So if they don't know how to use it or what it's good for, then that's not going to be helpful to them. And my understanding for Senate Bill 13 was to bring transparency from the school districts to the parents on what's in our libraries and available to our kids. So if we're not doing that transparently, it kind of goes against what Senate Bill 13 stands for. So that's my concern with that.
I put it on my to-do list. So.
And was there a regulation that was put into place with this? I know you talked about local policy, but there was a regulation, correct?
So the regulation is a working copy that we'll present to you guys as well.
Okay.
Simply, we were waiting to see what other area districts were doing with regulations. We're looking throughout the state just to make sure that we're aligning. There is currently none of the Region 19 districts with regulations, so we're modeling after other ones and wrestling back and forth with librarians as to what they want to have on there, specifically with the committee composition for the challenge of those books.
President,
Okay, thank you.
just a clarification on that. We don't need a regulation. There is
Correct.
with the Senate bill.
Correct. We
With
don't
that
need,
Senate bill.
right.
And there is no, that's why there is no regulations in other districts.
Correct.
There's not one required, but we were told that one was going to be put in place because when I was asking questions about how we were implementing Senate Bill 13, I was initially told that we were going to be putting, not just Senate Bill 13, a lot of the changes that happened with the legislative session, and we were told that regulations were going to be put into place and they would be sent to us, and we still haven't received any. So I'm assuming that's one of those.
Was that a while back?
Yes, that was during the legislative changes, or when we adopted it.
Dr. Rico, real quick, if that exactly what Ms. Barnes was told, let's bring it next board meeting, let's discuss it one more
No,
time.
that's an administrative reg, it shouldn't come to the
Yeah,
board.
well, once again, what were you told, by whom were you told?
I was Dr. Ariano when she was interim. That was what she brought up when we were discussing the changes of the legislative session. Any regulations that were put into place of how that process would look for the committee, so on and so forth. That it would come.
Was that on
before
a
us.
one-to-one basis, or was that during a board?
I believe I asked for it when we were discussing those particular agenda items for the Senate bill changes. I'm sorry, for the legislative changes, and she couldn't answer some of my questions because they weren't ready yet.
So I can provide some clarity as to the regulation or not regulation before the lawyer tells us or after the lawyer tells us.
Mr. Blanco, go ahead.
President Martinez, Dr. Borrego, members of the board. First, regulations do not come to the board. They're administrative in nature. If you want to see them in a Thursday packet because something's been created, you can ask for them. They can be sent to you, but it would not be presented at a board as a board agenda item. I'm not sure if the district made a decision to create or adopt a regulation for this particular Senate bill. You're right, it's not required by the Senate bill, but that's up to them. If they want to have a working template or something that you create, it's up to them, and you can certainly share it with the board, but it is completely outside your purview to be involved in it.
Yes, I wasn't asking to be involved in it. I had asked questions that would have been covered in regard to the process of the committee, so on and so forth, and she had explained those details had not been ironed out yet. They were still going over those details, and they were planning on putting together, am I explaining that correctly? Okay. They were planning to put it together a regulation, and so that it would be sent to us in a Thursday packet once it was ready.
So we have a new leader. I think that we give it to him and let him decide if he wants a regulation or not.
So I can tell you a little bit about the conversation on regulation. We currently have an outdated regulation following prior implementation of challenge committees. So the regulation in question was a revision or omission of that regulation that is not any longer. That's my non-legal opinion, Mr. Blanco.
I don't. I haven't looked at it, so I wouldn't know, but I can check.
Thank you.
But you do have a motion on the floor to approve just the library submissions that Dr. Rico mentioned.
We have a second, right? I said yes.
Yes, it was second by Ms. Borrego. A motion made by Mr. Rodriguez. Go ahead.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Borrego?
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortega? Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Zúñiga?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number C, 6, executive session. To consult with attorneys under sections 551.071 and 551.076 of the Texas Government Code. 6A, receive and discuss intruder detection audit report findings for district campus. Presenter, Chief Fernando Martinez. Time is 8:23 p.m.
Yeah, right.
We're live.
Adrian, would you bring us back from executive session, please?
Yes, sir. Time is 8:37 p.m. Item number 7, meeting adjournment.
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Borrego?
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Ortega?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Zúñiga?
I would like to pull an item to have a discussion, please. Yes.
Blue Bonnet?
All in favor?